have learned so much. I have learned so much from God that I can no longer call myself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a Jew. The truth has shared so much of itself with me that I can no longer call myself a man, a woman, an angel, or even a pure soul. Love has completely befriended me, so completely it has turned to ash and freed me of every concept and image that my mind has ever known. Even though the title of this teaching, this poem, is I have learned so much, every beloved learns so much in the spiritual journey, but at the same time, as you are learning truth, all of what you thought you knew is falling away. The two don't coexist. They don't live together. As we learn the truth of love, we unlearn everything from the past because they cannot coexist. It is a glorious place to no longer be able to call yourself a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a Jew, because we are not those things. We've used those identities, but we are children of God. And every beloved who sees themselves as a Christian, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a Jew is a child of God. That's all that is the reality. The temporary identity has no reality in the oneness. You imagine that God would say, well, we have different houses for different religions. No. There's one life, one love, one truth. It's love. Love sees no differences, no separation. And then to move further to no longer call yourself a man or a woman, an angel, or even a pure soul. The love of God cannot be identified. And yet, as love can't be identified, we are everything. Everything that is of love, we are. Innocent child of God. Innocent of all the past. Innocent of all ideas of separation. Innocent of all thoughts that have been carried. Imagine, I tried one time to touch into how many judgments have I had in my life. Couldn't even be possible to keep track, because every day was a day of judgments. Every day was a day of opinions. Every day was a day of comparisons. Every day was a day of differences. Every day was a day of seeing everyone as separate. And every day was a day of fear. And all the differences, all the judgments, all the assessments, all the knowing, all the winning, all the being the best or being the worst, had all been used in the name of fear. And none of it was true. The grace and the blessing of seeing with the heart is worth the trip. It's worth the journey. No one who opens their heart and feels that divine love without judgments, without assessments, without any knowing, it's worth the journey. To be able to love without conditions, to see each beloved as the light of God and an innocent child. It is your remembering of God. It awakens God within you to love, to let go of judgments and assessments, to forgive all of the judgments and assessments, and to forgive them because they were used in fear. That's all. They were used in fear. To have the compassion to recognize that all the fear from the past was not a sin, but a mistake. And not to try to hide from those mistakes, but to bring them into the light so they can really be healed. Your journey is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all of the barriers you've made against it. There is such a fear of facing the past. The fear is, if I pretend that I was innocent and didn't judge, then I can avoid looking at the judgment. But nothing heals. Nothing heals there because it isn't brought to the light. And it is essential that it be brought to the light. I cannot see in darkness. Dear God, let the light of holiness and truth open my heart and let me see the innocence within. Because that is essential, to see the innocence within, the child of God within. And to wash clean from the idea of wrongdoing, the mistakes being let go, to see the innocence within. To embrace that God sees nothing except love. That nothing of what we have thought, of our judgments, our assessments, our opinions, which sometimes are held very sacredly. They're not, but they're tried. Beloveds can hold them sacredly or try to hold them that way. But all the while, the divine has no capacity to see illusion. That's why God doesn't see anything that's going on other than love. And that's why the Holy Spirit is the bridge, because love cannot see illusion. That awareness that love cannot see illusion has the capacity of such deep healing, because the fear is that you are being judged for the past, for your opinions and judgments. But God sees none of it. And so the only possible judge is yourself. We impede our own healing by judging ourselves. Why do we judge ourselves? We judge ourselves because we believe in judgment. We judge ourselves because we want to judge ourselves before we are judged. The fear of God's judgment will bring us to our own judgment so that we're not judged. But it's all for nothing, because there is no judgment. And God just keeps calling and calling to just come home and rest in God. The invitation to rest in God, why is it not accepted more readily? The judgment and the self-incrimination says, I can't rest in God because I'm not worthy of it. How can I rest in God when I have judgment? But there is no barrier to resting in God. And because the source of all life does not see judgment, opinions, assessments, rights and wrongs, all the rules that you're carrying, you can readily rest in God. And that resting says, I have done nothing. I can rest in God because God is my source. I rest in God because God invites me to rest in the truth. I rest in God because God is my source of comfort. I go and rest in God because it's where I belong. So when you're called to rest in God, it's a healing. It's where we heal. We rest in God because all of the judgment and the opinions and the assessments are so painful. And the fear is so painful that when we go and rest in God, it becomes a place of such deep comfort that it is a comfort that you have never known before. It is a comfort that is natural, but is not known in this world. So you rest in God. It's your resting place. Now, if you're resting in God or you're resting in the Divine Mother, it's the same place. May have a little different vibration, but it's the same resting place because it's your recovery place. I've always referred to healing as the divine hospital. The divine hospital is reality, and it is part of the resting in God. It's the realization that healing is divinely orchestrated. We don't orchestrate healing. We accept it, we invite it, and we can do our part, which is to choose. That's our part. To choose love, to choose to rest in God, to choose to rest with the Divine Mother and all divine beings. But it's very clear that the resistance to resting with divine beings, with God, is a discomfort of not believing that either you can rest there or that you're not ready to rest there. But there's no readiness needed at all. No readiness. There's no test to see if you're ready, to see if you've healed enough to rest in God. Now, resting in God is, as soon as your heart opens to wanting to remember that you begin by resting in God. To imagine how it's possible to rest in God, what I used to see was the hand of God being a hammock, being the comfort, and that as you lay in the hammock, you are laying in the center of God. And it isn't that resting in God is about sleeping or having to be asleep or resting in just that way, but because everyone is so tired of being in the world and battling, the resting is a way of recognizing I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to battle anymore. I don't have to keep a rule book anymore. I don't have to try to prove I'm right. I don't have to prove to others that I am more or less. All of that tiredness can be let go through resting in God. I walk with God in perfect holiness. These are not teachings that are meant to make you have more self-esteem. I walk with God in perfect holiness. I now have more self-esteem. There is no self-esteem that is actually any part of healing, because the little self, you are not trying to build a better little self. You are coming home to the truth of your divine holiness. I walk with God in perfect holiness. The teaching isn't I walk with Fred in perfect holiness. It isn't I walk with a CEO with perfect holiness, even though all of those things are factual. everyone that you walk with, you're walking with God in perfect holiness. But the difference is that it's the recognition that everyone that you walk with is the expression of God, is the innocent child of God. If I speak with tongues of men and of angels and have not love, then I am only a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so that I could move mountains and have not love, then I am nothing. And if I give all I possess to the poor, and if I give my body to be burned and have not loved, then I am of no use for anything. Everywhere we turn, there is a divine truth that is waiting to serve. Everywhere. All day long, messages are coming from the divine that affirms, I must love. And every message is calling you to let go of the judgment and the opinions. It's to let go of judgment and opinions is like climbing to the top of Mount Everest. In that, every step you take up the mountain, you find another judgment. Every step you take up the mountain, you find another opinion, another assessment. Letting them shed away, no longer wanted, no longer needed. Imagine a day without an opinion. It's just the glory of God. There's a beautiful line that says, is this a thought that God would think? And it's there purposefully because it's so powerful. Is this a thought God would think? Am I thinking with God's thoughts? And that alone is God blessing and bringing truth so that you have a way home. Everything is for healing. Everything in the spiritual journey is to serve each beloved because you are so loved. When I was walking through the journey, it would stop me so strongly that these teachings were given to me, and not in a narcissistic me, but that they came and found me because God is love. And the blessings show up because we are so loved. It would overwhelm me that these teachings were so perfect, like they had been written for me. And then I realized, well, they had been written for me. Not me personally, but the me that could receive it with everyone. Only love. I hear the voice of every creature and plant, every world and sun and galaxy singing the beloved's name. I rest in God. What is this precious laughter and love budding in our hearts. It is the glorious sound of a soul waking up. Your awakening is guaranteed. It's not a question. It's not up for debate. It's guaranteed. When is our choice? And the most powerful element of healing is the surrender of opinions and judgments. They are the fort. They are the gate that either opens to love or stays closed. Every judgment that we have says, I need protection. I can't rest in God yet because I'm still in the battle. And this is why I rest in God becomes so powerful, because resting in God is an antidote, the medicine to judgment. Because you're not doing anything. You're not explaining yourself to God. This does not say, I explain myself to God. No, I rest in God. Because God is not asking anything of you. Your resting is your right, your birthright. It is your home. It isn't something you have to earn. It isn't something that you have to cleanse yourself to be there. Purify yourself first in order to meet with God. No, I rest in God. Anytime and all times. From the moment you're called to that teaching, to that invitation, it's yours. It is yours, hook, line, and sinker. You have an open door to resting in God. You don't have to knock on the door. You don't have to prove your worth to rest in God. You rest in God's love because it is your home. There is a misunderstanding about resting in God. And the misunderstanding is that it means that you're sleeping, or that it's about the body resting. And there may be an aspect of that. But it's the center of your being that is resting in God, that is giving up, that is no longer in the world in any way, shape, or form battling. You're resting in God as you walk in this world. But you are at peace because you're not there to prove anything anymore. You're no longer here to win. You're no longer here to lose. You're no longer here to prove anything, and you're no longer here to protect yourself in any way. Now, most beloveds would say, I don't protect myself. I don't have a defense system. But all the opinions and all the assessments, they are all part of a defense system that holds the belief that you are not safe, that you are not held. And all of that battleground can now be let go. There's nothing actually more exquisite than being able to honestly say, I don't know, all day long. Not as a joke, not as a retort of some kind, but in honesty that how could I possibly know? How could I know what's going to be next? What the form is going to look like? I have to put the future into the hands of God, because that's where the future becomes holy and blessed and no longer repeats the past. I place the future into the hands of God because the future is God's. I no longer want to hold the future as what I know or what I think it should be. And I promise that God's future is the most perfect future you could have. And the future that you would make instead on your own would be the past. Because we can't make a future without using the past on our own. We can't. But God's future, placing our lives in God's hands and allowing the future to reveal itself, it's going to be the holiness of God. And it will serve your healing 1,000 times what you could have made out of the future from the past. But when the future is in the hands of God, it's all blessings. It's all learning. It's all perfect because it's orchestrated so that you can learn at the deepest place. When we talk about the brilliance of creation and the wisdom that the Holy Spirit holds and that God holds, the wisdom is that everything of your life is perfectly orchestrated by the Holy Spirit to serve you. There is so much love and so much care and so much power that everything is orchestrated for you, and that the Holy Spirit in wisdom knows exactly what is most helpful for you. That's knowing. That's the wisdom. And we can't know what is most helpful for ourselves or for others. We can be inspired because the Holy Spirit will inspire. Certainly, there is an understanding of how to serve someone when the Holy Spirit brings that learning. There is wisdom that comes through the Holy Spirit. And it's always enough. It's always perfect. And it is never too little, too late. It is never a stretch. It's always perfect. If the knowing can be let go. The name of God is my inheritance. Can you accept that it is your inheritance? When you rest in God or you place the future into the hands of God, it is because the name of God is your inheritance. It is yours. It is not something you have to earn. You are the child of God. And that acceptance is the center of peace, the center of harmony. I am forever an effect of God. Being an effect of God and God being the cause of life. As you accept that you are the effect of God, that all of your movement, all of your thoughts, all of your offerings are because you were made by God. You were created out of love. And in that declaration, I am an effect of God, you are declaring that I am not an effect of the past. I am not an effect of a tribe. I am the effect of God. I live as the light of God. And all the beloveds that were part of the tribe and part of the agreements, they're not deserted. They're not rejected. They are loved for the first time. They are loved through your heart for the very first time since they began to walk on this earth plane. You have that power. You have that power of God's grace, of God's love, because you are a child of God and you are bringing love to the tribes on the earth plane. You bring the power of forgiveness to those families, to those tribes, where you see their innocence, their perfection, their light, and you no longer hold them as tribe members, roles, limitations, the past. Everyone that you walk the past with, you can set them free. You can forgive their false identities that you held, that they held, and let them rest in God also. See them as walking with God in perfect holiness. See them as innocent. And forgive all judgments, all opinions, all assessments, and all roles that have been given erroneously. I'm a daughter of the Queen. I'm a daughter of compassion. That hymn did not come from this mind. This mind would never have written, I am the daughter of the Queen. I'm a daughter of compassion. There would have been so much resistance. It would never have been written. Blessed Mother wrote those words. And it is the truth of everyone, daughter, son. You are the daughter of the Queen. You are the son of the Queen. And you bring that light to everyone from the past. You carry the compassion of the Divine Mother. And you have to learn to live in that compassion to be able to offer that compassion. You have to receive the compassion of the Divine Mother and receive it into your heart that you are the child of God. To accept it is not arrogance. To accept that you are the daughter, the son of the Queen is humbling. It is a place of humility that says, I am that because God says so. I am that because my mother says so. And then to bring that compassion, that love of the divine, everyone that is with you or that you hold in your heart and your mind will be blessed by your choice to accept that you are the light of God, the light of the Queen. Those words never have to be spoken. You don't wear it as a badge, but you offer that love. And many that you offer the love to will not necessarily notice in the moment, but their hearts will have the seed planted of true love. And they will be altered. They will be healed by your offering. And your offering is actually that you are resting in God. This is not hard work. The only part that is a stretch is the leap of faith that you are that you are a child of God, and that you are here to offer love and to heal from all the judgments and opinions and assessments from the tribe, from the family, and to be free. Free to rest in God. All gifts are given you. If your will is not one with God's, His gifts are not received. Rest in God and receive the blessings. God is but love, and therefore so are you. You can't be anything else. You can't even hold on to any identity as you accept that you are God, one with God in love. And your heart will have an urgency of offering that love. You won't be able to hold it. You can't hold love and not offer it. And as you offer that love, more love shows up. And you realize that there is an abundance of love that is beyond the word abundance. It's like having a flood come through your heart that has to be shared, has to be offered, because it's its nature. And it will become your nature more and more and more as you rest in God. Resting in God says, God's will for you is happiness. And it is not God's will for you to suffer in the spiritual journey. So as you rest in God, you surrender the difficulty, the perception of difficulty, and you accept the blessings. I rest in God.